And just to give you a little perspective of what that is, there is the elected sheriff, Ken Mascara, who's elected every 4 years by the citizens of St. Lucie County, and I am the second command of the sheriff's office. On your paperwork, you will see that he was listed as the person who is going to be the presenter here today. But one of the things that I get to do is if the sheriff is not available, I get to fill in for the sheriff and cover whatever it is that he's not available for. So, that being said, the sheriff's office and law enforcement in general is considered a paramilitary organization. And when I say that, I mean that a lot of our customs, a lot of our history and things like that is based on the military, the way they do things. We wear uniforms, we have rank, we operate in a very similar type of system when we do our job. And a very important part of our function is timeliness, being on time, being punctual as far as different things. We have 2 briefings every single day, 7 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock at night. You have to be on time for those roll calls. The reason being is there's very critical information that's going to be given out at those roll calls for everyone to know before they go out to their patrol zones. There could be information on a wanted murderer, a bank robber, a carjacker, or something like that. Things that could save their life, that there's information that will be helpful to them to know before they go out to go to work. In the sheriff's office, we have a little bit of a tradition, kind of a fun tradition, is that if you show up late for your roll call, in the morning or in the afternoon, if it's on the afternoon, the next night, you bring pizza for everybody on your shift. In the morning, if you're a day shift guy and you're late, you got to bring donuts and pastry the next morning for the shift. Now that's okay if that happens once, twice in a year or something like that. But when it begins to happen more, what can happen in our profession is you can get written up. You can get a counseling slip that may go in your file. If it happens 3 or 4 times, maybe a reprimand would go in your file. Now what that's going to do is that's going to hold you up from maybe a transfer that you'd like to go. You'd like to go from uniform patrol to criminal investigations and be a detective. That could hurt your possibility for a transfer. It could lead to greater discipline. So the importance of punctuality is great in our business. In addition to that, if you pick up the phone and you dial 911 and you're expecting a police officer, sheriff's deputy, or the fire department or an ambulance to come to your home for some type of an emergency, you have an expectation that we're going to get there in a timely manner. Not an hour, not 30 minutes. You want us now. This is an emergency. So you expect us to be there. Everything that we do, and I can speak for the fire district because we do this in very similar fashion, is fire stations are strategically placed around our county with a response time in mind, so that if you call 911 and someone might be having a heart attack, that rescue truck, that fire truck is going to get there in a timely fashion, going to give you the aid that you need. Same thing for the sheriff's department. We have zones that deputies are assigned to with response time in mind to get to emergencies in a timely fashion so that we can take care of whatever the citizens need as far as law enforcement protection or fire protection and things like that. So timeliness is a very big part of what we do as first responders to make sure that we're providing a level of service to the community that they expect. They don't expect, if you call 911 and you say that you have an emergency, they don't expect that it's going to take a long time for us to get there. So that's kind of an overview of what we do as first responders here. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Iacono.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Tony Iacono. I'm the Vice President for Academic Affairs at the college. That means I oversee the traditional programs, math, science, English, history, so forth, as well as the libraries, the tutoring labs, and a host of other student support services and so forth. So when you're working at the college, you work in education in general, time really does matter. Punctuality is critical, not to the extent that Chief Wilson talks about, because what we do here is not necessarily a matter of life and death, but it is a matter of building good habits to support you. So we want you to achieve more in your learning when you're at the college than you learn how to solve certain mathematical problems or understood certain consequences in history or what have you. We want you to develop good, strong professional skills. So students themselves will sometimes say to me, does it really matter if this assignment's on time? What if it's a little bit late and so forth, right? Does it matter that your instructors are there on time? Yes, and when instructors don't show up on time, you sort of look and go, maybe this person doesn't care, I shouldn't care so much either, right? Or I'll ask students when they say, is it okay if I hand in a paper late? I'll ask, how many of you work? Most hands go up. Do you know when you get paid? They know when they get paid. Does it really matter if you get paid on that Friday, or would Monday or Tuesday of next week be okay? And their answer is, no, I'm supposed to get paid on Friday. That's right. So time matters, most specifically to the individual, but for things to function, or for large organizations like the college or the sheriff's office to function, everyone has got to play their role in ensuring that they are punctual in what they do. That's how these organizations are able to achieve what they achieve, okay? Your being on time speaks volumes about you, okay? So when you're a student or a community member, people are looking at you, making decisions about, do they want to hire you? Do they want you to work on a certain committee or a work group in the community or what have you? If you represent yourself as someone who is on time regularly and you're on top of what you need to and you're completing things on time and accurately, the likelihood that you're going to get invited to jobs or to participate in broad-scale community initiatives is much stronger than if you have a reputation that you're late on a regular basis, and therefore cannot be depended upon. So you may not think about it, but being punctual and your ability to focus on doing things in a timely manner really speaks volumes about you. It tells people an awful lot, helps them make decisions. Don't thwart your educational career because you're late sometimes and you don't think it really matters. It matters. People are watching, okay? I have roughly 800 employees in my area. I don't know if they all show up exactly where they're supposed to on time. We do spot check it. But I can assure you when they don't, I do get to hear about it very, very quickly. People count on each other, so other faculty members, will address that with their chair or sometimes with the individual. Students will call my office sometimes and say, I'm in this class and it starts late. Fortunately, that's very, very infrequent, but we do address it with the individual immediately, okay? We spend 5 years with our teachers here before they can get a permanent contract, and in those 5 years, that's one of the major things that we're watching for. Are they on time? Are they punctual? Are they accurate in what they're doing all of the time? Do they know how to work with students? Do they have good people skills? But the one thing that would trump all that and put them out the door fastest is you can't show up on time, you're undependable, is how that gets labeled, okay? So keep that in mind as you're in your classes, you're working through things. You may not think being a little late is a big deal, or you may look at the syllabi and say, I'll take the 5-point penalty for doing that, but it's actually saying more about you than you may realize. Okay, any questions? We're getting better at this because we haven't had time for questions before, so we're actually
You're working on your timing skills a little bit.
yeah, we're fine tuning it. Chief Wilson's much better at this than I am, but they wouldn't have any time left over in the middle of it. Okay. But that is really where it comes in. I also tell people, basically when it comes to being on time, if you're not early, you're late. Get places early, stay a little bit later, put your hand out and meet people. Build relationships. A lot of your success will come through relationships. We will graduate thousands of people every year with degrees. The world is full of smart people. Can you work well with other people is often what it comes down to as well. Hire people with doctorates all the time. Academically, they're brilliant. But can you work well with others? That really, really has a huge, huge payoff in the end as well. So by sticking around, and meeting people and so forth, lots of great opportunities can come your way. By showing up early, same sort of thing. But if you're in and out, boom, 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 nobody really gets a chance to know you. All right.
I like to make comments. I have two grandchildren in colleges around the state here, and I'm sure these young people see some of it. But what you said about the teacher making an impression, the instructor, by not being on time does hit home, because I've heard it from mine several times. One's in Orlando, one's in Gainesville. This class isn't good, the instructor doesn't care, they don't show up even, let alone being late.
Right.
So that is very important. It does make an impression on the student.
Yeah. Academia for years used to flourish on this absurd basis that if your professor had a master's degree, you waited 10 minutes. If they had a doctorate, you waited 15 minutes. We would never tolerate that with our faculty here. Why would they be waiting at all? So time matters. For us, it should matter for you. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much.